What's up everybody? I'm Average Joe and welcome to another Average video. Today's video we're going to be checking out EcoFlow's brand new Smart Home Panel 2, and we're also going to be taking a look at their Delta Pro Ultra. We're going to try to cover everything under the sun, so try to keep up and let's get to it. All right, so what we're looking at here obviously is the EcoFlow Delta Pro Ultra. For the battery and the specifications on that, this is 6,000 watt hours. Battery chemistry is lithium iron phosphate. Life cycle on those is 3,500 cycles, and then of course you still have 80% of the cycle capacity left. All right, and then the inverter sitting on top, that is a 7.2 kilowatt split phase inverter. And of course this is a stackable system, so you can stack up to 5 batteries per inverter. And if you want to get super crazy, you can actually parallel 3 of these systems together for 90 kilowatt hour worth of storage. That's freaking crazy. All right, and then we'll move a little bit closer and take a look at all of these little ports right on front. Door number 1, this is where you can do a 4G like a USB dongle, so if you need to connect that way, you can do that. These 2 doors right here are 120 volt, 20 amp outlets. This one is backup UPS, and this one is online UPS. Backup UPS means it has a transfer speed up to 20 milliseconds, and then online UPS is basically 0 transfer time, or 0 milliseconds. Open these up, you get 2 120 volt, 20 amp outlets, and same for this one right here. Open this one up, and that is your standard RV 120 volt 30 amp style plug. And then this one right here is your 120 240 30 amp 4-prong plug. All right, and then finally door number 6, we open that up, we get an Anderson style plug, 12.6 volts DC up to 30 amp max. Right below that we get your low solar PV port input. Voltage range on that is 30 to 150 volts DC, 15 amp max. That's nice to see just for the low voltage PV input. Right over here we have a ground screw, and then right next to that we have your slow and fast charge. Again, you can adjust this inside the app. Finally, we have your regular AC input for charging, etc. This they call the extreme charge port, 120 volts, 15 amp max. And this plug is just slightly different. The prongs are laid off to the side, kind of like some server rack style plugs. If I didn't mention it before, these doors are magnetic, so they do stay in place. That's pretty nice. All the doors have that. And what's nice is these doors are removable, so you can just pop them right off. The little doors won't get in the way. And then obviously just pop those doors back on. Boom. And then finally on top you get 2 USB-C ports. These are 100 watt PDs right here. And then you do get some USB-A ports right here. So on the right side of the battery, there's not a whole lot here other than 2 battery expansion ports, and then you have a power button which you can hold down for a couple of seconds and turn it on. But nothing's really going to happen because you don't really have an inverter connected. So I'm just going to turn that back off for now. And these doors right here, they do slide in out of the way. So that is fan-freaking-tastic. All right, this is basically battery port 1 where you would connect it up to the inverter, and this is battery port 2 where you would go down to another battery. All right, and again, these doors are magnetic as well. And this is the right side of the inverter, just above the battery. So we have your high voltage PV port, power in and out port, and then your battery expansion port. Same thing, these doors are magnetic and they do slide in to get out of your way. The voltage range on here is 80 volts all the way up to 450 volts. 15 amps or 4,000 watts. That is freaking amazing. And this also has a little spot that you can put, you know, like a lock on there. So again, turn it on, turn it off. Nice. Next port over is basically if you have the smart home panel, this is where you would connect to that, or if you had an external generator hub, this is where you would plug in to that. And then finally right over here is your battery expansion port. And then if we flip it around to the back side, right up there on the top, you can see some fins and stuff. That's for their cooling. They have a new cooling system. It's called X cooling or something crazy like that. Basically, it's kind of like a laptop where they have all the heat pipes and all that kind of stuff. That's basically what they have inside of here. Of course, there is some fans in there to get some airflow going, but the really cool thing about this, since they are using all the heat pipes and just a couple of fans, it's supposed to be super, super quiet. Before we connect the battery up and turn everything on, I was just gonna show you everything that it comes with. The battery box only comes with this battery connection cable right here. That's it. Everything else right here comes with the inverter. So you get your little rolly cart that you can put everything on. You get your 120 volt charging cable. You get your low PV input solar MC4 connectors with the little tool. You get some little tiny stands right there that you can put on the wheelie cart instead of the wheels. So if you're gonna have a more permanent installation and you know you're not gonna be wheeling this thing around, you could install those. And then finally over there, you get your cable that connects from the inverter over to a generator hub or the smart home panel. All right, and real quick, if I did not mention it yet, the cart that everything is sitting on right now, that cart did not come with this setup. That is an optional thing that you can get. That's more for if you're like trying to wheel this thing around in different places. Maybe you're using it outside, camping, RVing. Just keep in mind this weighs a lot. The battery itself weighs 116 pounds, and then you add the inverter on top, that's another 70 pounds. All right, so that's a lot of weight to be moving around. However, you can do it because this is just like a luggage cart. It's got the extendable handle on the side, you know, and then you can move this sucker around, all right? And then there's also some little tiny wheels on that backside, so you can actually, you know, wheel it around. And it's also designed to be put up on its side. How crazy is that? All right, we're gonna turn this thing on. So we're gonna open up the battery expansion ports right here, and we're gonna grab that small cable, which is awesome because it is a 90-degree cable. This is fan-freaking-tastic. This is what everybody should be doing. We don't want them big-ass cables coming out. Anyway, we're gonna grab the cable. We're going to plug it in, top and bottom. And if you want this a little more anti-tamper proof or kid proof, tighten down these little screws right here, which will fully secure the cable into the battery and the inverter. All right, so up here on the top where the display is, you're gonna hold down the power button for 3 seconds to turn it on. I have turned mine on a few times and I've already had it set up in the app so the AC will turn on automatically. Whenever you first turn on yours, the AC is not going to turn on. So here we go. All right, so all of this is pretty self-explanatory. So we got your input and output in watts. Right in the center, we got your percent state of charge, and then whatever load you're running, it'll tell you your time remaining right down here. And of course, you need to turn on your DC ports. You can do that. It shows up right there. That's for your USBs, the Anderson connector and stuff right off to the side. All right, and that's pretty much all we have right here. All right, and obviously there's gonna be a few different ways that you can use this. Boom! What we have here is the EcoFlow Smart Home Panel 2. This is basically a sub panel that you would have installed at your house, and it is a smart panel. Smart panel basically means it can do a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm gonna try to hit, you know, some of it in this video. I think there's just way too much to go over in one video, you know, to include the inverter and the battery and all that kind of stuff. I just want to say real quick that this is sexy. The front is glass. You know, obviously it says EcoFlow right up here. It's just a really nice sub panel. All right, anyway, open it up. Boom. All right, so here's the main part of the panel. You have a grid side and a generator side if you were doing that. And of course, it does come with the generator lockout right here. So if you wanted to use the generator, you have the generator circuit breaker installed up to 50 amps. You would disconnect your grid circuit breaker right here, slide this down, and then flip on your generator breaker. That's only if you're using that. The rest, you know, is just like a regular sub panel. You're gonna install circuit breakers for whatever room, appliance, etc. that you want to power. In a case of emergency, something that you're just trying to power off grid permanently, you know, you can install that all right here. And you don't have to do single circuits. You can do double pull circuits, you know, for like an air conditioning, a well pump, a heater, a dryer, you know, whatever you want. I would say that's pretty freaking awesome. All right, so here's the sticker that's right behind the door, the EcoFlow Smart Home Panel 2. Model number is EFP-D303, 120/240 at 60 hertz, 100 amps. The enclosure type is NEMA 3R rainproof, so you can put this panel outside. And then of course the battery connection box that's attached to the bottom of this panel is only NEMA type 1. It is not waterproof. Recommended breakers right over here, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 amp breakers. And then it's got your, your standard cable sizes. If I zoom out just a little bit, you can see it does have a nice seal around the door. And then also this door doesn't have to swing to one side. You can actually reverse the door. So you can put these right over here. And then of course your hinges and stuff would also go to the other side, so you can have your door open up the other way. All right, and then if we go right down here, on the bottom of the sub panel, this is called your battery connection box. This is what I said earlier, that is NEMA type 1. This right here is not waterproof, so if you're gonna be installing your sub panel outside or in the weather, etc., this bottom box is removable and you would wanna install this basically out of the weather, inside. This is where you're gonna be connecting up all of your Delta Pro Ultras, a generator, EV charging, etc. You're going to plug into one of these 3 ports right down here. Just like I said earlier, if you have 3 Ultras, you're going to plug one into each one of these. If you have 3, that's 90 kilowatt hour worth of storage and 21 kilowatt worth of power out of your inverter. Obviously, you can see right here, we do have a grid LED right there. Right in the center, we have a resume pause button. And then right over here, we have an error LED to let you know if there's any problems. One thing I guess I didn't mention, which is pretty obvious, is since this is a smart panel, you can connect with Bluetooth or your home Wi-Fi, which is also going to connect to your app, of course, on your phone. From there, you can pretty much control everything. Of course, I keep thinking about all sorts of stuff that you could do with a smart panel. Like if you have some really annoying kids that won't get off the internet or they won't go to bed because they're watching TV, you can just go right into your app, turn it off. I think that would be pretty hilarious and awesome at the same time. Obviously, there's a whole host of things that you could do. Time of use, you can use this as a backup, if the grid goes down, or if you're just trying to save some money and start going off grid, full off grid, you can start with this right here. There's even some stuff where you can set up in there if the grid goes out, you can have certain circuits be a priority. So like, let's say my refrigerator, I want that to be on all the way until the battery is 0. Let's say my island, for example, if I didn't need power to that circuit, I can program it in there. If the grid goes down, that can shut off at a specific battery percent state of charge because you're not going to need power to that circuit. You can set it up however you want, which is amazing to me. There's so much stuff. There's so much stuff you can do with this. All right, so to hook this up to the smart home panel, we're going to go through the power in out port right here. So open that up, slide the door in, and then we're going to grab this cable right here. One end is just going to go right here. Boom. And then up on the smart home panel, you can choose any one of these. I'm going to go right for the center. So just plug that right in. And then all we do from here is hit this little button right here to connect it. And once that green light stays lit, we are connected. Boom, there we go. And one thing I'll mention down here is the AC output light turns off because you cannot use any of the AC outputs down here on the unit anymore. We're also going to connect up some solar panels. We're going to go through the high voltage input port right here on the side. Now again, keep in mind it's like January 5th. It's cold out, it's super cloudy, and I don't think there's any sun whatsoever. So we're not going to get very much solar at all, but we might as well connect it up. All right, here we go. Boom, you can see we're connecting right over here off to the side, and we are already start charging. So out of the array that's there now, we're only getting 184 watts, but again, we're almost full charge, so we might only get 186 watts out of the array. All right, before we actually start powering a bunch of stuff, I was just gonna show you the app real quick, and I'll put it up on the screen so you guys can see it. All right, so at this current time, I've got the beta version. All right, whenever you guys get it, you're gonna be using the full version. All right, so anyway, if we just click on the battery, it'll just basically give you all the specs just like it does for all the other EcoFlow batteries. It's basically the same. So I'm gonna back out of here, and then we're gonna go up to the smart panel. All right, so inside of here, the 8 circuits that I actually have connected right here, it's a good portion of my house. It's most of the things that I would want to use or have either in a power outage or stuff that I want to keep off grid. And right now, with everything that I'm running in my house, I'm only drawing 1100 watts, maybe a little bit less. And you can see it from the left going through the panel and then out to the house, which is on the right. You got your AC 1, 2, and 3. That's these ports right here, and you can see we're connected in the center one, so it shows up in the center. If we click on that, it'll just give you some more information. You can turn that on and off. That's basically this switch right here. I don't think we want to do that right now, but if you do, that's okay. It's just going to disconnect the inverter and battery and stuff down here. If you're still powered by the grid, everything's going to stay connected, you know, as it is. Right under here is your charge now function. Okay, so you can turn that on or off. We don't really need to do that because we're basically full charged. Back on the home screen, if we just kind of scroll up, you can see your total savings, your home, how much you've used on that panel so far, how much for battery, how much for grid, you know, if you use a generator, and then there's tasks which you can set up, which I don't have any set up. That's basically if you want certain circuits or the whole panel to go off grid, come back on grid, stuff like that, you can set up tasks to do that right in there. So each one of these boxes you can also click on. It'll tell you your savings in there. It'll tell you your total consumption right in here. You know, it just gives you information on basically everything. Back out of that, and then over here under circuits, this is where you can go in and name each one of your circuits that you have installed in here. I do not have circuits 9, 10, 11, and 12. I left those ones open because later on, probably in like a month or two, when we start getting actual sun, I'll probably try to run the air conditioning, the stove, or a dryer. I can connect up more solar to this. It'll kind of make it a little more worth it. So I just left those blank for now. Anyway, you can go in and name one of those. You can click on each thing. You can go in there, and like I was saying before, if you wanted to shut off the power to your kids' TV, etc., you can do that with that power button right there. You can just hit it, boom, shut them up, just like that. Or maybe they'll be a little more whiny, I don't know. There's just so much stuff that you can do in here. It's crazy. If you go into the settings, obviously you're gonna set up all sorts of stuff in here. We can go into operating mode. You can have your backup reserve. Right now I've got mine set up to have a 20% reserve. Let's see, if you wanna go off grid, you're gonna hit the self-powered button. That's gonna basically put you off grid. You can do scheduled tasks. Again, pause it if you want to read that. And then down here, TOU mode. Again, pause it if you want to read that. Outage strategy. All right, so in here, which I don't have set up yet, is where you would set up your circuits that you want to be powered whenever the grid goes down, like your refrigerator. We would want to keep that one connected all the time. In the winter time, since I have a gas furnace, I would want to keep the furnace connected up all the time because I don't want to freeze. After that, once the battery starts getting lower, I can start cutting more circuits. That's where you would set that up in here. Obviously, you can set your charge limit, your charging power. You can set this all the way up to 7,200. EPS mode, if you're using this for a UPS, basically you want to have that enabled. What that means is if the grid goes down, this is going to automatically switch over to the battery and the inverter within that 20 millisecond time. If that switch is not enabled, basically your house is going to shut down for a couple of seconds and then repower up. I learned that already. Anyway, you got generator settings in here, you know, and then all of your firmware, etc. There's just so much stuff you can do in here. Alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and get this party started, and I was gonna show you the 3 ways that you can connect up the EcoFlow Delta Pro Ultra, whether you're using it for a battery backup or you're trying to go off grid. Option number 1 is going through a ProTrans transfer switch, just like this right over here. I know there's many different models out there, but this is just an example. You would use something like this in an emergency where you just needed to power a couple of circuits. This one has 4 120 volt circuits and 1 240 volt circuit, you know, for like a well pump or really anything that you would need 240 volts. To connect that, you would use your 30 amp generator plug right off the front of the inverter, and you just plug it in right there. All right, and if you're going through this option right here, that only allows you to use basically 1 full stack of batteries and 1 inverter. Number 2 is going through a 50 amp generator plug. Typically you would have something like this installed outside where you would connect up a gas or diesel generator. And also whenever you use that, you also need a generator lockout right here. This basically prevents you from powering your house or the grid from 2 different sources. All right, basically you have to shut off your main, lift the switch up, and then turn on your generator breaker. All right, and then in order to use that option, you actually need to go through their EcoFlow generator hub. This allows you to connect up to 2 stacks or 10 batteries, 2 inverters. One stack basically goes to these two ports right here, and then you plug in your 50 amp generator plug from here, and then you can go right into your plug right here, which we are going to do. The only reason we're going to do that actually is because I want to try to run my stove, air conditioning, and dryer. I don't actually have those connected up over here at this time because it's January and we don't have a whole lot of sun right now, honestly, to kind of make it worth it. So that's really the only reason we're going to be doing that right over here. Then the third option obviously is connecting up right down here to the EcoFlow smart panel. This allows you to connect up 3 stacks, all right? So 90 kilowatt hour worth of battery. Again, like I said, I've only got 8 circuits connected right now. I don't have my stove, air conditioning, and dryers, which we'll do at a later date. But if I do connect to this generator port right here, I can power my entire house, which includes everything in the smart panel. There's actually one other option where you can get a hub similar to this. I should be getting that probably here in the future, where you can still use your EcoFlow Deltas to plug into the smart home panel. So this is an option. You still will be able to use your EcoFlow Deltas over here. First thing we're going to do, just to show you that it does work, is we are going to connect up to the ProTrans. Once I show you that's working correctly, we're going to disconnect that, and then we're going to connect up to the 50 amp generator port right here and power all the big stuff. Alrighty? Let's get to it. All right, option 1, we're going to plug right into the 240 volt 30 amp plug right here. So we're going to take our 30 amp plug, plug it in, give it a little twist, take the other end, plug it right into the port right here, give that a little twist. We'll lift this up. I don't have anything connected to this one right now, but basically all we're going to do is go up. All right, so we're connected to the transfer switch right over there. We go down right to the EcoFlow Delta Pro Ultra. And if we zoom in, we're drawing 297 watts. That's basically right now a couple of lights, 2 refrigerators, my cable modem, router, stuff like that. All right, so if we basically just left it at the 450 watt output, you can see we can run for roughly 13 hours and 38 minutes. Obviously, this is gonna go up and down. All right, we're gonna go ahead and flip this back over so we can use the 50 amp generator port right here. All right, step 1 is plugging in the cable directly into the side of the inverter. Step 2 is going to be plugging into the generator hub right here. I know it's a little sideways on the screen, but that's all I can do. We'll plug that in right there. And next thing we're going to do is plug in our 50 amp generator cord right here, which I already had previously. And the other side goes right in here. Plug it in, give it a little twist. The next thing we got to do is turn on the power. That should go solid. There we go. Now we got power out to the cord. All right, last thing we got to do is turn off the grid power and then flip up the generator lockout and turn on the generator circuit breaker. Once we do that, we'll be fully off grid and running straight off the EcoFlow Delta Pro Ultra. All right, here we go. Shut off the main, flip this up, and then go to generator power. Boom, there we go. Now we're running my entire house off of the EcoFlow Delta Pro Ultra. Alrighty, first thing we're gonna power, since we're down here in my basement, is my dryer. And I'm pretty sure these can draw upwards of 6,000 watts. All right, so there's the specs. It's a Whirlpool, 240 volts, and it can draw up to 24 amps. All right, what do we think, buddy? Can it do it? Can it do it? Oh, you're kind of scared. All right, turn it on. All right, we're on high. And here we go. Look at that. Nice, it did it. And none of the lights even flickered like at all, like not even the slightest. She's working just fine, no problem at all. Nice, alrighty, so it does a dryer just fine. Boom, there you go. 4-ton air conditioning with the soft start is running. And look at that, we still have a little leftover snow out there. Nice. All right, we don't need this anymore. That's just silly. We actually need to warm it back up to 71. All right, next we're gonna do my stove. So we're just gonna go right to the front large burner. Let's go for this front one right here. Let's try this rear burner back here. All right, we're gonna go for this burner too. All right, so look at that. We can power all burners on high. Oh, there we go. We just shut off the power. All right. Now I'm curious to see if it'll turn back on, which I don't think it will. That's all right. You could definitely do 2 burners at once. We come down here and check on here. 86%. AC is on. Oh, it's basically this switch right here, I believe. All right, so if you overload it using the hub right here, you have to come back down here and turn it back on. All right, so we're back online. Next thing we're gonna do is turn on the upper oven right up here. So we'll go to bake 350 and we'll start that one. That's basically the upper oven right here. We're gonna go ahead and turn on the lower oven and see if that one will turn on as well. 350. Start. Boom, there we go. We have both ovens on and they're both heating up. Upper one is just a regular oven and the bottom one is a convection oven. I'm not really sure what the difference is, but they're both on. Okay, I don't know how long I'm gonna sit here and wait, but all right, well, there you go. You can power your oven, no problem. All right, now that we know they can run a stove, air conditioning, and dryer, I think we are good to go. So basically what I'm gonna do next is shut everything down and disconnect it from the 50 amp outlet right over here, and then we're gonna hook it back up normally and go right up into the smart panel right here. Turn off the hub. Alrighty, and then your normal connection is just plugging this guy right in here. Wait for a couple of clicks, and then we can turn it on and connect it right here. That should go full green. All right, now we're fully connected back to the smart home panel right here. We're still on grid at the moment. We're not running, off battery or anything like that, which we could technically do real quick if you want to see it switch over. All right, I turned off my battery operated lights right here so you can see just the lights that are around me. What I'm gonna do next is flip the breaker over here and simulate a power outage, and you can see how fast it switches over. All right, so let me go over here to this panel over here, and I'm going to basically disconnect it from the grid, and we're gonna switch back over right over here. Ready? Yeah, you didn't see anything at all. And I was just gonna show you what everything looks like on the app. All right, so pop that up on the screen and you can see right over here, it says we're using the battery backup, as a reserve because the grid is out. All right, so my house and everything that I've got plugged in, I'm drawing a little over 2,000 watts. And I also wanna mention that it is completely silent. Even though we're only drawing 2,000 watts, it's completely silent, which is pretty freaking awesome if you ask me. All right, you can also see that we are inputting 330 watts of solar. All right, well, there you go. If you want to see the circuits and what they're drawing right now, kitchen is 75 watts, front room 55 watts, TV room 50 watts, fridge is drawing 120 watts. And my little basement area over there with my computer and all the crap that I have on over there, that's basically where all my power is being drawn from. I'm actually recharging another power station over there at 1,000 watts, plus my computer and all that kind of stuff. All right, I guess we will see what happens whenever we flip it back on, or let's say the grid finally came back. And of course, if I didn't mention it before, there's obviously a transfer switch built right into this panel. So that's how it goes from either battery or grid. All right, so when we do this, you should see this LED light right here turn from red to white, and it's gonna transfer over. All right, here we go. Let's give it a couple seconds. All right, that was like 4 or 5 seconds for it to sync and transfer over. You wanna see it go back off grid one more time? It's pretty much instant. We'll go back on. And there we go, back on grid. There might be one other thing I could show you in here. We can go into, let's see, right here, and we can hit the charge now button. All right, we had a couple clicks. This LED light right here turned from green to yellow, and we are now recharging from grid and solar. And on the screen here, you can see I've got it set to recharge at 800 watts. Which we could probably change real quick. Charging power, all right, we'll go down here and we'll just bring that up to 3,500 watts. All right, so there you go. There's just tons of stuff that you can do with this. All right, I don't really want mine to recharge that fast, so I'm gonna bring that back down. All right, well, there you go. Hopefully that was a good enough demonstration. Like I keep saying, there's just so much stuff that you can do with this. It's kind of mind-boggling. There's a couple things I still want to try out, or at least one thing I want to try out is the time of use. I'd like to try that for like a week and see how that goes. And the other thing I'd like to try, or at least set up, is whenever the grid goes out, where you can set up different circuits to shut off based on your battery percent state of charge. I think that would be pretty awesome to set up. All right, I'm just gonna shut up now because obviously I could just keep on going. So to wrap up this video, I'd love to hear all of your questions, comments, and concerns. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the brand new Smart Panel 2 and of course the Delta Pro Ultra. And obviously if anybody's interested in this system, I'm gonna have affiliate links down below. Actually, a couple of coupon codes where you can save quite a bit actually. All right, that's it, I promise. Don't forget to like that smash button and I will see you on the next. All right, so here we go.